'Twas the night before Halloween, and all through my house, not a monster was stirring, not even a mouse. Igor was snuggled, all safe in his bed. He lay there so still, you'd think he was dead. Think he was dead.
This is Kenneth Vigue, and yes, I've missed you too. It's that time of year again, and I have just so much to catch you up on. Firstly, I hope you're doing well, and I'm very aware of the fact that during some years when things were tough, I was able to be more present for you from a storytelling aspect. I have been just finding my own way like so many of you, balancing work and life. But I have been writing. The Appalachia, a Fallout 76 Stories spin-off podcast, has received glowing reviews. And if you've missed the ongoing stories from me, I do in fact write for Matt and Phil's podcast, because their story is and will be pretty relevant and connected to our own in a pivotal way. I hope you'll give it a listen. And at the very least, I've been sharing the episodes here as well, as they contain quite a lot of your favorite character, Mr. Dark. This has been a unique year, and while sometimes I know things feel heavy and maybe hopeless, or maybe just leave you feeling angry or sad or lost, know that light always endures. I know that for a fact, and I've seen it throughout this year. I saw it at our GCX event at Universal Orlando Resort, and most recently Fallout Day, where I visited Bethesda Game Studios for the first time. Our Fallout for Hope charity initiative is now just shy of $1 million raised for worthy causes since we started 6 years ago. Gamers did that. You did that. The Fallout community did that, and while we largely live in a very loud, noisy world where the algorithm tries very hard to convince us that all is lost, there will be lives saved and lives changed because of what we did, and they'll never even know us. In a few weeks' time, I'll be back in Las Vegas at the 4th annual Fallout Fan Celebration in Good Springs, Nevada, and we'll be hosting several voice actors from the games, actors from the TV series, and even attending the grand opening of the first Fallout Museum exhibit at the Atomic Museum. If you can make it out there November 14th to the 16th, please do. And if you can, please come find me and say hello. I always love when you do. You can check out the complete schedule, get tickets, and learn more at falloutfancelebration.com. And now, sit back, pull up a cozy blanket, and listen closely to the wind keening through the leafless trees just beyond. Because I want to tell you a story, and I hope for your sake the pumpkin is lit. Because I want to talk to you about nightmares. Most of the time, the nightmares that haunt us come and go after the first confused, sweaty panic of returning to the waking world. But sometimes, just sometimes, there are nightmares that are so terrible that they forever leave their mark on us, and you can never, ever let them go. And whenever this time of year comes around, I find myself becoming a little restless in the dark. When we go to bed and the crinkle of the pillow as it softens in my ear once again conjures up visions of creeping horrors, crunching over leaves, growing ever closer. I had that vision as a kid. I have that vision sometimes now, because no matter how old we get, our monsters remain our own. When I was 8, I had the most intense, real, awful nightmare I've ever had. That's haunted me most of my life. My bedroom was downstairs, just off an unfinished part of the basement, separated by the finished playroom by a utility room that contained forever anxiety-inducing clanking pipes and a whirring furnace. You are no more keenly aware of every sound at night as you are when you're young, and it is October, and your mind is filled with nameless horrors. I had one of those beds from the 80s that had cubby holes in the headboard with sliding panels that you could tuck stuff into. I would often pull little doors to the center to hide my toys and books, while animatedly pretending it was a fortified bunker with the Joes under attack from Cobra, or the Thundercats once again fending off Mumra. It was late in October, not yet Halloween. It was dark, and there was a louder than usual groaning noise of the house shifting and settling. But to my child's mind, it sounded like the house was flexing, as if it was trying to pull itself free from the foundation, free from the basement itself. I remember hearing a scratching, skittering noise above my head inside the headboard. I sat up on my knees and reached out, sliding open one of the panels. It's important to pause for a moment because, as silly as this may seem now, when I was 8, the scariest book I had ever read was The Hungry Caterpillar. I don't know why, but it terrified me. The concept of something eating its way through the book with those huge, red, unblinking eyes and a hunger that never ended. And it was there, right in front of me, out of the book. But what was before me, filling that headboard, was a nightmare version that had crawled its way into reality. It was segmented and pulsing, slime-covered and foul-smelling. Turned to face me, its red eyes glowing and mandibles clicking. I opened my mouth to scream, and it reared back and ejected venom into my face and mouth. I could feel it burning through my skin, and I screamed louder and more terrified than I'd ever screamed and ever have since. My parents came running downstairs and later told me it sounded like I was being murdered. They woke me up, but it didn't stop. I could still feel it burning, my face flushed red. I took me an hour before they could get me to calm down, my throat hoarse from screaming. That night, I fell asleep upstairs in my grandmother's room. All these years later, and that nightmare, even now, still gets to me, and it has never left me. And while I've almost certainly dreamt of or written more horrifying creatures since then, what chills my spine even now is how real my physical reaction was to its attack. My body didn't know the difference. Simon Rex has been on a journey of his own, and on the eve of his raid on Vault-Tec University, after the events at Sanctuary Acres, we're about to step into his nightmare. Shh. Slide in close now and try not to wake him. If you listen closely to his sleepy murmuring, you'll find that he's making his debut on a show not too dissimilar to one I used to listen to on sleepless nights once hosted by Art Bell. On this Halloween, I cordially invite you to tune in as RBTS Radio presents The Haunting of Simon Rex.
Naked underground, bitten by a rattlesnake he bought from a traveling circus before it went down. He was honoring Jesus with his rattlesnake dance. Lord, couldn't you have given him one more chance? Bewildered Mary was part of the congregation too. She came flying down into the valley one day on a pale white horse with burning...
This is RBTS Radio, the radio voice of Appalachia, the voice of your panic respawn. Welcome to Blat, somewhere in Appalachia. Tonight, featuring a special Ghost to Ghost AM Halloween broadcast from October 31st.
From the ash heap to the great soaring peaks of Seneca Rocks, I bid you all a good evening and a happy Hallows Eve. This is Ghost to Ghost AM, and good evening. And I say good evening again because somewhere on the map it's probably evening still. But I don't know if that's true, if for some reason you shifted into a quantum superstition state because you were salty that someone was in your camp spot, so you respawned into an alternate reality where it's sunny or rainy or possibly nuclear hellfire. I don't know. Probably we should do some calculations on all of this or question our subjective reality. Anyway, I want to mention that last night's 3-hour special on rumors about a swarm of vertebrates spotted across from Point Pleasant, kidnapping people and taking people to Ohio is in fact a hoax. After that anonymous call, we traced the ham radio handle to Nut Gobbler 82, a bow and arrow build operating out of a 15-foot robot camp with an 8-inch phallus comprised of 900 stacked smiling faces of a Mr. Cappy. A riveting story, to be sure, folks. But look, if you're going to call in with some nonsense, maybe at least make it plausible. Nevertheless, if I were to see a vertebot ominously over my head, I'd shoot first and ask questions later. Maybe it's true. Who knows, right? Well, look, tonight, with it being Halloween and we're all bumping our episode on Vault 76 simulation theory to next week because tonight I'm joined by someone I met while running from a giant slithering FEV gestalt entity while Sanctuary Acres burned. Now, he holds no doctorate in psychology, parapsychology, or even gynecology. But folks, some of the stories he's told me of the who's who and the what's what around here will have your short and curlies flat out. What's that? No, you gotta get a little closer to the mic, son. That's it. Say hello.
Hello? Sorry, I wasn't sure which mic was on. Is this okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
I can't really see you in there. Light in this booth is kind of bright.
Yeah, we're working on that. Give me a name, kid. Tell them a bit about your roots.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just confused is all. Sorry, can we go off mic for one sec? I think there's been a pretty fundamental misunderstanding here.
Can't. We're live. What's the problem?
I just met you yesterday.
Yeah, and?
You said today was October 31st.
Right.
But we met on Halloween, so it can't be Halloween again. That was yesterday.
You sure about that?
Well, yeah, I think I have a fairly good grasp of time.
You think so? What year is it?
Well, it's... Look, I thought we were going to talk about the Vault-Tec conspiracy. The last thing I want to talk about right now is fucking Halloween.
Whoa, let's cool it with the F-bombs and swearing. We had a raider chicken here a few weeks back. Awesome Alice. And let's just say she was painting the airwaves with liberal use of the A's before she added a few new craters to the parking lot.
Swearing.
Pardon?
It's swearing, not swearing.
Potato, whatever. We'll get to all the Vault-Tec conspiracy stuff.
Yeah, a massive conspiracy. They lied about...
Whatever. What's your problem with Halloween?
My problem with...
Halloween.
I mean, where do I start? It's a goddamn nightmare. It's a nightmare. Every Halloween, this place turns inside out as if whatever cosmic comedy of a curse we so unluckily wandered into just decided that this patch of Earth would be a perfect petri dish for every kind of horror cliche it could cook up.
Yeah, watch the plosives.
The what?
Plosives. You're hard on the P's, alliteration happy. Just answer the question. Look, me, I love Halloween. Day in, day out, at this hour, on this show, we get all sorts. We get them all. Tranks, lobos, zip heads, food builds, furries, old perverts, new perverts, snallygaster pimps.
What the hell is...
Just last week, some self-proclaimed serial killer just called up to confess about building a giant microwave that dumps 2 tons of raw meat on you before 30 Tesla mines turn your body into a dancing ragdoll. Other people are just whack jobs getting jacked up on a Braxo milkshake whippets and confessing that they found Jesus in a can of cram.
I'm sorry, what?
Point is, Halloween is great. Even for adults. Yeah, you can't exactly go on dancing out into the dark all carefree like when you were a kid with all the brain-sucking aliens, wealthy cannibals, and trick-or-treat plague victims. You get older, sure, but then there's the parties and carrying on, and flickering of old horror films with buttered popcorn. Halloween changes because you do, and yet it persists. So, what is the problem with Halloween?
Sometimes it's just too much darkness.
Explain.
Well, it's like back in the vault.
This Vault 76 place, yeah.
Yeah, where all this started. It wasn't like it is out here. Out here, everything is endless horror. We are trapped in an endless cycle. A grimdark October country where the clocks died along with the world, and the thanks of November or the charity of December never comes. Halloween here never, ever ends because the trappings of death, of slithering horrors, of monsters in human form, or madness, or pulse-pounding terror just goes on and on and on, and I'm tired of fighting. I need this to end, because this life that we have is like the Day of the Dead ad infinitum. We all died once, all of us, and yet we, like October, endure. No light, no hope, no control, no love. No love. Do you have any water?
Pardon?
Water.
Sure. Hey, Bill, can you grab him a ration?
What the hell is...
That's Bill. He identifies as a cardboard robot werewolf, but he can type 500 words a minute, so he could be an ornamental peacock in high heels for all I care. He also likes celery.
Okay.
Let's pause for a second. I need to do station ID.
Sure.
It's RBTS Radio. 68 minutes past the hour, and we're here at Morgantown High for a special episode of Ghost to Ghost AM, sponsored by Big John's Snacksalottos. If you're tired of punching a perch or munching down on mankind, head on over to Big John's over in Boggy Bay. Plump, fleshy, yet surprisingly supple and flavorful. Why put it on a wall or in a tank when you can beat it to death with a dry rub-coated fist and slide it down past your gizzard? Except no substitutes. That's Big John's Snacksalottos. Look for the glowing sign on top of an eldritch horror wearing a tugboat. And now back to Ghost AM. I'm here with Mr... Oh, geez, we didn't even introduce you, did we?
Rex. Simon Rex.
We were talking about Halloween, and things were different in the vault, right? How were they different?
Halloween in there just came and went. It was a fun diversion from just monotony. No, that's not right. Uniformity. We all wear the same expelled body-conforming suit. We all live in the same rooms that sometimes have a different wall pattern. But Halloween was something to look forward to every year, and the overseer was a nut for it. She probably broke every protocol in the book, but she always made sure it was just special. Like the one day of the year, more than Christmas or 4th of July, when it was okay to just embrace the chaos. Yeah, along comes Halloween, and the lights get dim and warmer. Used to drop the temperature in the atrium, so you get the vibe of, God, I don't know, the cool, crisp nights and dewy mornings.
But it was artificial.
Yes, but for us it didn't make a difference. We kids had never known anything else. There's parties and games, music and dancing. It was bobbing for apples and spin the bottle, and there was one year there was something that...
Yeah? Take your time.
I wasn't supposed to... I can't remember.
Well, we'll come back to it later. Hey, Bill? Yeah, let's open up the phone lines. We have our first caller. This is... From...
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
This is Earl Blat. You're on Ghost to Ghost AM. Go ahead. Uh-huh.
Earl, I think there's something wrong with my headset.
Sure, yeah, of course.
Earl?
I see. And you think it's connected?
Hey, I can't hear. I'm just getting static.
One moment, Mr. Rex. Sure, go ahead. You think you found the note? Uh-huh.
What's wrong with this fucking...
Sure, we'll be going over that later in this hour. Phew, that's frightening stuff. Thank you, caller.
What did they say?
What's that, Bill? Sure. We have about 2 minutes to curtain, Mr. Rex.
Curtains? I don't...
Hey, Bill, can you bring it in?
What is this?
It's your costume. Your Teen Frankenstein. Glue those rivets on real good, Bill, and let's roll up those jeans.
My costume? Look, I'm getting pretty fed up here, Earl. I thought we were going to be talking about Vault-Tec.
That's in Act 2, but you've got a few monologues in Act 1.
Act 1?
Yeah. The radio play.
Radio play?
Someone's been doing Abraxo Whippets again. The radio play tonight. Watoga Civic Center, hello. Don't worry, folks. Our big star will switch the light bulb on by the time the witching hour strikes, or my name isn't Earl Blat.
Thanks, Bill. Hey, Earl.
Yeah?
What's with Bill?
He identifies as a pantless unicorn now, but he brews a mean cup of coffee, so I don't care what he does in the parking lot with the Santa inflatable while I'm gone.
Right, of course, naturally, whatever. What's this?
The script.
This is this the right script? I can't even. What the hell language is this?
It's 13th century Latin, with about 5 musical stanzas. You can just hum your way through. Mind that accidental, though, on the 3rd bar. It'll trip you up every time.
I don't know how to read Latin.
Look, we went over all of this. You'll have a translator.
And that is?
The ironic alien from Scene 7. She's just pitching in to help with the translation, too.
Oh, sure, of course, naturally.
Oh, that's my cue. You've got this. Don't be nervous, kid. Do what I do and picture everyone naked. Except everyone, and I mean everyone, has the same pair of filthy Vault-Tec standard issue underwear.
But I don't even know what play this is.
Just improvise. No one cares. They'd listen to you read a phone book. Me? I'm all guns. Gray Tortoise cigarettes and a shoe bomb damaged my vocal cords back in '68. Now hurry up! Sit right there on that stool. Here, we got you a better mic. Bill, seriously? Pick an identity. Come on, man. Get on that.
I don't... What's the name of the play?
Shh.
Lights, please. Let's get some music, Bill, huh? Turn out the lights. Yes, turn them out. No, not these lights, Bill. I was speaking to the listeners. Tonight, the Ghost to Ghost AEM players present a tale well calculated to keep you in the dark. I'm Earl Blat, your host. The night is still, the shadows long. And while jack-o'-lanterns flicker and your pulse beats quicker, somewhere deep, the clock runs down. We open on a scene, a familiar one, an autumn Halloween festival in a forgotten orchard, on a farm no longer tilled, in a barn no longer mended. It is the eve of tomorrow, and yet as the moon slips behind ominous clouds near a crackling bonfire surrounded by the mildewed and collapsed debris of one last Halloween sits one last partygoer, whose story shall be spoken to no one at all. Outside the barn door, the chink of masonry and the shuffle of brick is heard. Judgment has been passed, and the sinner is left behind in a cell of his own making. Simon Rex joins us tonight in his debut performance in the role of Herman the Recluse. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Earl, I don't know the goddamn lines.
Improvise, kid. Shh, we're coming back. And now, listen closely as our tale begins. We call it Forever Halloween, Sometimes Never.
I am innocent. Yes. I am innocent. 3 words spoken by even the most treacherous of the vilest sinners since... Should I do a voice? Yeah. Since the first was made by lifted stone and bash of brain, as shadows watched and waited. And yet here I sit next to these Halloween decorations and moldy apples with... Am I on guy? What voice is... Alright, whatever. With an axe? An axe. I got an axe in one hand and a mask in the other. I can still hear the crowd even now just outside the door. Every brick laid slowly, delicately, purposefully, with finality. My name is Herman the Recluse, and I'm being walled up alive.
Yes, poor Herman the Recluse, forgotten and alone. What crime could be so grim for him to be reduced to a merely walled-up whaler? Perhaps you should listen a little closer, dear friends, because the story is about murder.
What did you say? Murder! No, I didn't... Stop, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm sorry. I can't do this. I'm sorry. I'm done. There. There's the exit.
Bill, we're gonna need to wind back the tape and take it from the top. He's going to hit the post, ruin the whole show.
We're back, folks, with Simon Rex, author of the Tell-All Big Codex tapes. The Vault-Tec Conspiracy, available now on all holotapes randomly scattered in the wasteland. Now, Mr. Rex, you've said it all. FEV experimentation, human testing by shadow governments, and a man-eating giant pumpkin manipulating the casual nexus.
Yeah, that's right, Earl. Doc the Horrible?
Let's shift gears for a moment to your own experiences in the Appalachia, in the years leading up to your imprisonment.
Betrayal?
Sure, betrayal. You walked from one end of this region to the other. You covered a lot of ground. You had a lot of adventures. Or let's say, misadventures.
Sure, yeah. Bill, can you grab me another hot cider? Thanks, dear. Sorry, Earl, continue.
Now, it wouldn't be Ghost to Ghost if we didn't have a healthy serving of ghost stories with our pumpkin pie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In all of your travels, in all of the tapes you've recorded, I have to ask, what are some of the scariest things you've come across here in the Appalachia?
Scariest? Geez, well, I mean, most of it. God, that's a good question.
Well, to put it another way, what scares you?
What scares me? I guess hopelessness, tragedy. Knowing that no matter what you do, you can't alter your fate.
Now that sounds more to me like a fear of loss of control, huh?
I didn't say that, Earl. Come on. No, I mean, when you think about it, this entire region has been marked less by ironic tragedy and more by horrifying inevitability. Even before the war, Appalachia was less a place and more an exploitable region by exterior forces. People who came here not to settle but to hollow out its core for personal gain. The people who lived here were merely wheat waiting to be felled by the scythe of industry. Now, I've often wondered if the real curse of this place is merely the multi-generational karmic universal retribution by darker elements, unleashed by the sheer scope of crimes committed by opportunists, vagabonds, and robber barons who wanted nothing more than to rape the region and not even leave 50 caps on the nightstand.
Careful now. We're getting a little preachy.
Well, come on, Earl. We're talking... No. You know what? You want a story? I got a story. Maybe this one can vividly illustrate my point. Thanks, Bill. I'm sipping cider for dramatic effect here. That's good.
Uh-huh. Come on. Can't have dead air.
All right. Some say farmers are born from the dirt. But here, many are born from the rock. That's true today as it was in the 2070s, in the shadowed, low-lying town of Monongah, nestled in the mountains of what is today known as the Savage Divide. It was a quiet town with trim houses, a well-cared-for church that told every Sunday with his word, before fried chicken picnics, pie and ice cream were passed around, and friendly smiles shined on until the last light of day would wink out behind the craggy peaks. Like every town, it had seen its share of darkness, yes, it had seen its share of tragedy. In 1907, heartache came in the form of a detonation that would snuff out the lives of 367 souls. Many of which would never be laid to rest. And yet the townsfolk did as they always do in the hill country. They joined hands, picked each other up, and moved on, though the pain of the loss would run as deep as the now inaccessible coal below. Despite the neighborliness of this town by day, by night, in parlors and at desks, the good people of Monongah would stare at thin ledgers and pray to the Almighty. Because the town had a sickness. The town was dying. Far below them, in the caverns carved by their forefathers, mining equipment lay forgotten and silent as the grave, stirred only ever so slightly by the rumblings of digging perhaps a little too greedily in the last century. Coal that had fueled Western expansion with thundering locomotive, coal that had fired steamships across choppy seas. Coal. The last ember dying out, even as the resource wars raged on, for it had been all too readily replaced by the divine light once found only in the life-giving sun above, Adam's own fury. It was a town hanging on the precipice, and as so often is the start to these kinds of stories, their desperation wafted through the valleys and beyond, like blood in the water, calling. It called, and he came, like a devil in a three-piece suit. His name was Daniel Hornwright, and at first glance he appeared to be both celebrity and savior, rolling into town in a stretched limo and patent leather shoes. A hush fell over the citizens as he strode purposefully into the township council meeting and took the podium, whether it was offered or not. With a flourish, a wink, and a smile, he presented a proposal wrapped in a cash advance to not only bring life back to the mines, but promise better living for every man, woman, and child. To a town drowning, this outstretched hand seemed like the answer to their prayers. It was April when the deal was done, their fate signed on the dotted line. By mid-April, hands that had cleaved through rock for generations were handed pink slips as tractor-trailers pulled up with the time-saving, faster, and efficient marvel of Robco Industries and Hornwright Industrial, the auto miner. And yet, was this not safer? Would they not have to risk their lives ever again? After all, the royalties alone in perpetuity would be enough to transform the township itself, the promise of a future for their children and their children's children, no longer cursed to toil beneath the earth as they had done. But given the chance to do something more, or so they thought. Servos and pistons getting to work, within 2 months, high-density ore was practically flowing out of the mine like water. Ancient seams, once trapped, were effortlessly harvested. The output, breathtaking. By Christmas Eve of that year, as the townspeople lit alpine arches and windows and gathered to sing the old songs of sacrifice, hope, and joy, the supervisor, Deke Sykes, concluded his last bit of business before the holiday break. The mine had but 1 month left to live. The life's blood that had fueled the town for centuries bled dry by industry in less than a year. As he packed up his things to head to a warm home of his own and sit round a glowing tree with his family, he did make note that initial surveys by Hornwright Industrial had known full well that the mine had a finite supply of coal. The devil that was Daniel received the message far from Monongah, in a high-rise tower, looking down upon the land they had raped and left to die. He poured himself a highball and sipped it and smiled. The new year came for the town not with the promise of hope, but with a rapidly approaching terminus. The auto miners were packed up, and just 2 weeks after Christmas, as the supervisor was shutting down operations for good, he made note that he was being watched by burning, watery eyes. A group of townspeople, well-spirited with bottles still in hand, burning with fire in their veins and a blackness in their hearts. They were no longer smiling. Amongst them was another Earl Williams, a single father and a good man whose hands had worked the rock, but couldn't restrain themselves from reaching for the bottle. He had been seated in the council meeting with his young daughter Maggie the day the devil in pinstripe with forked tongue had promised salvation. In the vacuum of lacking purpose, of idle minds and restless hands, as the mine workers awaited the boon of royalties promised by Hornwright, but never to come, bourbon flowed as readily as the coal seam below. And they drank greedily, and in the haze of liquid fire and addled thoughts, the embers of hatred flared into a conflagration. Behind the now alligator-skinned off-white church, now showing the first signs of neglect, men drank as they do, and swore as they do. And with slurred words, they decided to raid what was left and take their fair share from Hornwright before everything was carted away. After all, they drunkenly thought, they were owed. Things could be pawned, bartered, and sold. As the creeping cold and covering snow blanketed the town, on the minds of everyone was the chill and specter of starvation, of insolvency, of foreclosure, looming directly over the town. They had little choice. Earl stumbled in the door of their little home, startling Maggie as she stirred their meager fire with a poker. With a mumble that he needed a warmer coat, Maggie confronted him, begging him to stay and to let it go, clutching at his shirt as he tore through the coat closet. His red-rimmed eyes looked back at her, a flicker of regret passing through them. The look of finality she'd never forget. Then the flash of fire returned, and with a curse, he bundled up, quickly kissed her on the forehead, and was swallowed up into the snow, echoed by the slamming door. Fueled by liquid courage, Earl and a group of stumbling men shambled up the old trails and into the mine, vanishing deep within, soon swallowed up by the now dark passageway. Outside, as the snow fell, and unbeknownst to him, Deke Sykes checked the last of the leads, blew warm air into his cold hands, and pushed down on the detonator. The boom and rumble rattled plates and glasses off tables and out of cupboards. Record players in dimly lit parlors skipped and scratched, and the townsfolk rushed to the windows to see a plume of smoke, dirt, and debris soar overhead. In the confusion, coats and hats were hastily thrown on, and a group of concerned townsfolk ascended to the mine. Flashlights in hand, they quickly descended on Sykes, who had been packing up the last of the papers and equipment into his picker-up, completely unaware of the men now choking and trying to dig their way out far below. Stammering about cost control measures and changes in operations, Sykes' cool demeanor was shattered by the cries of panic growing closer. Maggie Williams darted through the crowd, grabbing and punching at Sykes, yelling out that her father and the others had been in there. Wordlessly and wide-eyed, Sykes scrambled into his truck and quickly drove away, passing more cars ascending to the mine from below. Maggie ran to the entrance, her hands dug into the dirt, wood, and shattered stone, her nails breaking and splitting, digging. Cars pulled up, and the well-heeled members of the town council emerged, parting the crowd, waving hands reassertedly that all was in hand. Behind teethy grins that masked well-padded pockets, they assured the townsfolk that while the mine had been blood dry, they had been assured by Hornwright of new opportunities nearby. They would still see their promised good fortunes, and all would share. Yes, folks, all would share. They made their way into the mine, Maggie's wails and cries of her father's name echoing outward. Pulling her away and back, they spun a lie so blatantly, so false and cliché, that their faces reddened as they spoke. Her father and the others had skipped town. He had left her, but asked that they would see that she was taken care of. Seeing them perhaps for the first time through blurred vision, she cursed and spat at them, laying at their feet that they had sold their souls to Hornwright. Or still, had sold out the very town their forefathers had built. Prickly at the accusation, they held her back, steering her out of the mine, preaching safety and danger of further collapse. The townsfolk left. Car engines faded. Snow-crunching footfalls receded, until all was silent, but not for those below.
You're doing great, kid.
What is that?
Nah, the audience is just getting a little restless.
The audience?
Behind you. Don't worry about it. It'd just make you nervous to look.
You have a studio audience?
Yeah, sure. More exciting this way. We have a packed house. No one wanted to miss this. It's our biggest show of the year. Anyway, continue. This is riveting stuff. And don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, because coming up next we have the Somnambulist triplets from the Finger Lakes singing a few of their favorite classic Halloween songs.
Right. But below they... Sorry, it's hot as hell in here.
That's just the lights.
Can we turn down the temperature or the air conditioner or fan or just something?
Hey, Bill. Can we get the kids some cold water? But come on. Let's get back into it. The clock's running out.
It's just... you completely ruined the vibe and rhythm I had going there between the organ and the interrupting. Let's see. Trying to find my rhythm again. Yeah, the script is missing 12 pages.
Yeah, he's looking for them now.
Who, Bill?
Hey, Bill, let's turn the lights down a bit. Try and set the mood more. And light that pumpkin, will ya? Yeah, there we go. Better?
Sure.
We need to get a move on. The phones are lighting up. People want to have their say. Hold tight. We just need to go to Station D. 2 minutes to midnight, you're listening to Ghost to Ghost AM on RBTS Radio. This is Earl Blat. Minds, Mayhem, and Monsters. I'm joined by former vault dweller turned truth teller Simon Rex, who spins a yarn for us on this All Hallows Eve of a town corrupted by desperation and laid bare with greed and opportunism, as Mr. Rex put it. But something tells me the deepest chills are yet to come. Isn't that so?
You could say that, Earl. Because there are far worse things than being buried alive. Below, groaning timbers and sifting rock and dirt choked out the screams of one of the ill-fated miners. As Earl and the others dragged James free from the collapsed entrance, they looked grimly upon his shattered legs, the adrenaline rapidly burning off their drunken haze. One of the men in a panic began pulling at the rock only for a rumbling lurch to be triggered as more of the roof collapsed upon him before the others could even react. Scrambling backwards from the tunnel, dragging James behind them, they retreated deeper into the mine. Minutes turned into hours, as James' feverish cries turned to whimpers, and finally, to silence, as he succumbed to his injuries. Despite a thorough search and survey, all exits were revealed to be blocked off. Dead ends. Scavenging the mine, they could find no trace of food, and as they talked amongst themselves, a grim reality faced them. In the deep and the dark, where time loses all meaning without the cycle of day and night. By the end of the first week, though they had access to water, a few of the men began to whisper and conspire amongst themselves. The most unspeakable act there is. One word that summoned up the scope and terrifying depth of their desperation. Cannibalism. Cannibalism. After all, James was already dead. They had to endure. They had to live out the clock and wait for rescue. What choice was there? Back on the playgrounds of his youth, Earl would recall playing Never Have I Ever, F, Marry, Kill, and Would You Rather. Grimly, he found himself playing the all-too-adult version. Would you rather starve or eat another person? Despite philosophically wondering if it was enough to just survive if you can't face the person you've become, James joined the others as their former friend was slowly torn apart and served up cold. Even as they tucked in, those that held out and protested knew they had a choice: to become someone's dinner or to become something worse. Slowly, one by one, the holdouts succumbed to starvation, feeding those who lived on. Between the lack of the day and night cycle and the toll that the moral implications played upon their souls, Earl found his sanity slipping. Shadows became form. He began to hallucinate, hear voices in the dark, and in his now swelling belly, a terrible, unceasing hunger gained purchase like a cancer, spreading until it was all that was left of him and the others. All that was left was the eating. After leaving behind a holotape that he prayed would one day find its way to Maggie's hands, Earl penned just 2 journal entries in an act of trying to retain his sanity. He shared his fractured thoughts in shaking hand to paper, lamenting that rescue or not, he wasn't sure if he wanted to make it out alive, fully aware that he'd become a monster for the things that he'd done. In his last few lines, he wrote, "People ain't dying fast enough to satisfy my hunger. I must do what I have to do." In a final line as a plea to whoever would find his note, he begged them not to tell Maggie. One final evening on a day unremembered, single father Earl Williams, hoot for free December, would heartily fill up the town hall with the booming ho-ho-hos of St. Nicholas, savagely tore out the throats of the last of the survivors. Animalistic screams echoing up the silent stone corridors. He fed, and he fed well.
Phew, geez. That's quite the tale. Did they ever mount a rescue?
They never got the chance. War came, as it always does, and the town finally died, and the tragedy buried and forgotten. After fleeing Appalachia, leaving her losses behind here, eventually the anger resolved itself into regret. Maggie, now well a woman, returned when others did to Appalachia, called forth that the endless cycle of horrors unleashed were at last put to rest, and that treasure and new opportunities could be found. She couldn't rest, hadn't rested, and needed to know what happened to her father. And so a band of 76ers do what we do best. We reopened the mine with a tactical nuclear strike, as one does, and descended below.
But you didn't go?
I was...
Yes.
I wasn't. Why is it so warm in here? Can I please have that water? Are they making fun of me? It's dark back there. You said we have a full house? I mean, just curiosity. How many?
What did they find down there, Mr. X? We're running out of time here.
What they expected to find would be the remains of Earl Williams and his men, but what they found was a holotape and notes, sure. But they also found something far worse. Deep below, a nightmare stirred that had been sleeping. It had smelled something it hadn't smelled in a decade or more. Flesh. What emerged from the darkness that day bore no semblance of humanity. Towering, terrible. The thing that had been Earl Williams tore through them. As the 76ers respawned again and again, the creature's frustrated anger at not being able to rend flesh from bone and feed grew more intense. This was wrong. It knew it to be so. The prey was wrong. And as it called forth others that transformed into the Wendigos of ancient myth and lore, bullets rained forth, ripping into its malformed heads and thundering bulk. Eventually, finally, the thing that had once been Earl Williams collapsed, his attackers descending upon him and tearing into him as greedily as he had into his friends decades before, but searching for perhaps simpler treasures.
So I guess the lesson there is...
It's like I said at the beginning. On the surface, so much of the horror in Appalachia woven throughout these modern-day tragedies, and even those dating back centuries, all have a similar theme.
Exploitation has consequences.
Yes, but also so does hubris. At its core, I think Halloween and every trope in urban legends has interconnecting themes. Take cryptids, for example. Now, we know that the ones frolicking around here are about as supernatural as a pencil sharp. All of them are born from very man-made horrors: pollution, greed, radiation, the bastardization of nature, and science pushing boundaries without moral or ethical guidelines to hold them back.
Which implies...
Don't you think it a little bit convenient that some of the most popularized myths and legends of Appalachia now stalk its streets and hollows? I mean, the Goat Squatch, the Grafton Monster, the Beast of Beckley, the Mothman, and on and on.
And so...
I think sometimes you can only push nature so far before it decides to start pushing back. But what if the corruption, the darkness we brought home to seed here, took the form of all that we fear?
Metaphorically speaking, of course.
Of course, I mean, time and time again, whether it's Frankenstein or Earl Williams, we fall victim to our own very human desires and impulses, some of them terrifyingly primal. It's only more evident, more prevalent now because the facade of order, of civilization, law and order has collapsed. We're no different than the choice those miners made.
That's right. They made a choice, didn't they?
Sorry, did someone back there say something? Hello? Yeah, they did, Earl, but they also did what they had to do to survive.
Just like you. Isn't that so?
I don't know what you mean. I'm just trying to warn people that. God, I'm sorry. It's so goddamn fucking hot. Ouch! Stop. Hey, Earl. Yeah, my headset. I think it's shorted out. Earl. It's a goddamn. Hey, is anyone out there still? Hello? Does anyone have a flashlight? Hello? Turn the light on, please. Did we lose power? Can someone just turn on the light? It's kind of a little dark. What are you doing? Hello? What is this? Oh, my Pip-Boy. Jesus, I forgot. Almost forgot. No. No, they're all
Dead. I told you. We had a full house.
Where are you? What the fuck is going on here?
I told you. This is Ghost to Ghost AM, and I am Earl Blat. Let's pause for station ID. Bill, let's show him Act 3. Tonight, folks, the start of a 4-part special, the Appalachia Mystery. You know the tale. Just a few decades after the war, despite being largely untouched by nuclear bombs, some mysterious tragedy wiped Appalachia from the maps. What happened to its people? What disaster burned the entire region, leaving nothing but ashes and scorched earth? Tonight we'll explore the conspiracy and mystery behind one of the wasteland's most perplexing mysteries.
Please, tell me, who are you?
Haven't you figured it out yet?
I am the voice of Appalachia. No, you can't hear him. No, that would be more convenient, wouldn't it? Because the truth of it, kid, is that this is all about you. Please, I'm slipping. A long way down. That's one hell of a fall. And I'm sorry. Don't you fucking lie to me. Because you aren't. And you can't. Because I know you better than anyone. Happy Halloween, kid. Or rather, welcome to the Day of the Dead. The day we remember all we lost. But tonight, oh, honey, the phone lines are lighting up with a long-distance dedication going out from every soul lost because of us. Oh, Jesus. Jesus Christ, what the Continue recording. I fell asleep at my desk again. One of these days I'm gonna break my neck. Again. Note to self to see Modus about getting proper living quarters set up somewhere down here. Upstairs is no longer secure. I had a nightmare again. And every time it slips away from me just after I wake up. Every time. I'm done waiting. I've made contact and mustered enough together for a strike force. We're making our first move. I'm ending this today. A long time ago, I traded something for information. Information that up until now I haven't been able to use. But one of the Enclave Recon Assaultrons found it. It was right in front of us the whole time. Vault Tech University, where Vault Tech really began. Prepare for the future. Boy, did they ever. There's something buried below. I keep feeling... I keep feeling like I'm forgetting something important, but it's gone. Wish me luck. I don't know why I bother recording these anymore. Stop recording. Oh, come on, damn thing. Turn off. Stop recording. Stop recording. So much for these pit boys being built to last. Keeps recording on its own. Whatever. Can't wear this anymore with the judge tracking us. Whatever, the tape will run out.
Dude by your side. By your side.
And we're back, folks. And remember, if you've got a spook, specter, or starting encounter with forces unknown, we want to hear about it. And if you're just tuning in tonight, we're talking about all things tomes and grimoire. But perhaps none more famous than the Codex Gigas. The present whereabouts of which is unknown, though there is every chance it was destroyed during the Great War. Before our break, we spoke about mysterious origins and the tragic story of Herman the Recluse. And while its proportions once heralded as the 8th wonder of the world, it was well documented to have initially contained 322 sheets of vellum paper, the product of the lives of 160 donkeys and calves. But here's the kicker. On Friday, May 7th, 1697, a fire broke out at the Royal Castle at Stockholm, and the book, which is so huge that it needed 2 sturdy fellows to carry it around, was saved from the fire by being hurled at the window. When the book was later studied, it was discovered that 12 pages were missing, and while some speculate that these pages were lost after being tossed out the window and the binding damaged, there have been other, darker, more persistent rumors. According to some, these 12 pages contained a prayer, or mystical incantations that could hasten the end of days. Whatever was in those pages was lost to time. What we do know is that whatever mysteries this so-called Devil's Bible holds may have been lost during the Great War. Let's take another caller. Hello, this is Earl Blat. What's on your mind?
So you wanna go to a new dimension? And you wanna gaze into a mirror, mirroring a diamond shape of your soul. like the roar of thunder. Do you wanna lose all control? Then you got a dream. Then you got a dream. Just put one foot in front of the other. 'Cause all God's children got you.